Welcome to the TravelPulse podcast. Here's your host, Mark Murphy.
Hi, it's Mark Murphy with the TravelPulse podcast, the intersection of travel, politics, and finance, with a great podcast, if I do say so myself, in store for you today. So sit back in your car, put your headphones on if you're listening as you walk or at the gym, and here we go. 6 car rental. I got my update. Guess what it is? Their corporate policy is that the agent who wanted to charge me 40% more while she looked for a discount to put me in a higher level car than the one I actually booked, which said it was available when I booked, or something similar. And not only wasn't available, there was nothing cheaper available. There was only one class of car, which is the most expensive thing, Yukon XL. And they said that I'd have to pay 40% more for it. I got frustrated. I left. I talked about the last 2 podcasts. First podcast a couple of weeks ago, I brought it up, said it was a debacle. They responded right away on social media, which is great, but they didn't give me the answer I wanted. I wanted to know whether this was corporate policy or an agent screwing up on the ground. Then the manager called me, but I was traveling. I went to the social media folks, DM them and said, listen, I just need to know, is this something that you guys do corporately, or is this just a screw up? And again, didn't get an answer, but then the manager called again. I spoke to the manager, even though I was traveling. She said, nah, she should have put you in the higher price car. They shouldn't have charged you for it. And, she's going to talk to that rep. So all's well that ends well. That's your update, because it was frustrating as a traveler to have that happen. I know it's happened to many of you. And what I try to do is advocate on your behalf. And I think Sixt has a great fleet of cars. I know they always have these great high-end cars like Mercedes-Benz and the AMGs and you name it. So I've also rented from them when I did a car loaner from the BMW dealer in Fort Lauderdale when my car was getting serviced. So I know it's like it can be seamless and easy. This time it wasn't, and I'm glad that they stayed on it. We got it cleared up. Sorry it took 2 weeks. And to Sixt, it shouldn't have taken that long. But then again, I was traveling and their manager was calling me, and all I wanted was a written statement. So we got on the same page, and that's the deal. So if you rent from Sixt and you happen to book last minute and the car's not available, you heard it from me. They told me that they will honor the same price for a more expensive car if that's all that they have. So good luck to you travelers out there. Sixt Car Rental. They're the guys at orange, bright orange. You can't miss their logo. All right. Now, where am I at right now? I am at Playa del Carmen in Mexico. So what am I doing here? I'm wrapping up a couple of weeks of filming. We have gone all over. I have been to Cozumel, Isla Mujeres, the Hotel Zone, Playa del Carmen, where I'm sitting, Riviera Maya and around, Tulum. And what have we been doing in 2 weeks of going around? We've been experiencing the destination ourselves. So my firsthand accounts, I've been doing Facebook Lives. You might have seen some. I did one on Isla Mujeres. I don't think I did. Yeah, I did one on Cozumel. I did. I think I'm gonna do one. I think I'm gonna do one today from Playa del Carmen. But anyway, not just about me, because I've been here more times than I can count, and I know firsthand that Mexico is a safe destination for tourists. However, a lot of people still are hesitant. So we went out and we talked to actual tourists. We talked to single women traveling solo, staying in hostels. We talked to couples with little babies, and they're hanging out in a pool, or there's a nice couple at the Hyatt Ziva from Huntsville, Alabama. We've somebody the other day at the Cozumel Fiesta Americana hotel we were staying at. And again, this gentleman had his little, I think he was about a 1-year-old boy with him. And they were just talking about how great the destination is, how much they love it, how, they heard about the safety stuff. They came anyway. If they were new travelers to Mexico, they had concerns because of all the negative publicity that you see. And then they got here and they're like, man, this is great. For people who have been traveling to Mexico, they blew it off because they knew that that was hype, not reality. And they realized that situational awareness applies to anywhere you go. I mean, your local town, your things can happen. It's like, look left, right, and left again when you're crossing the street in the U.S. Why? Because a car on your left will hit you before a car on your right. And if you just look left and write and start walking out, so I have two kids, they're now 19 and 21. That's what I taught them. But I've known people who, or been places where people have gotten hit by cars because they didn't take that extra step. And so unfortunately, things can happen anywhere. And travelers who've been to Mexico get it. We've got a lot of video content coming out, and you need to pay attention to it. You need to pay attention to what people are really saying. Ironically, some, social media loser, and I say loser, and I don't say loser lightly, a guy with, I'm not even going to tell you his freaking handle because I don't want to give him any more followers as a result of this podcast. But let's just say he's got the words that basically indicate he's a travel writer. Okay, this guy's a travel writer. So he calls me out on Twitter. Why? And you can probably go find me at Murphy Travels and see who the hell it is. But anyway, calls me out on Twitter and says, you're profiting off of, risking people's lives, something along those lines, because God forbid I tell you it's safe to go to Mexico. And FYI to social media loser, from the guy who gets the plaque this week, and I think his name's Mike. I don't make money telling people to travel to Mexico. I don't own a travel business. I'm in the media business. We report on things. We try to get to the truth of the story, not sensationalize or create clickbait. How you could possibly consider yourself a travel writer, this guy here, consider yourself a travel writer, but tell people that it's not safe to go to Mexico if you're able to read, and I assume if you can write, you can read the State Department website, you can look at the travel warnings to Mexico, and you can see that in the state of Quintana Roo or the other tourism areas that a traveler would actually go to, the State Department has it at a level 2 warning. What that basically means is be aware of your surroundings. That's basically, and I got to tell you, Chicago would be a level 3 or 4 on the State Department warning index. It would be more dangerous to go to Chicago, more dangerous to go to Detroit, more dangerous to go to New York, etc., when it comes to travel as a whole, because of the crime that does occur in those places. Now, we're not hearing people say, don't go to Chicago, don't go to New York. You saw my Fox News segment, hopefully, from several months back, where they got all hyped up about the murder rate in Mexico. And when I called them out and said, well, you know what? There's things that are happening everywhere. And in reality, those things are not happening in Mexico to tourists, okay? There are things that are happening in and around tourist areas that are crime related, but they're not targeting tourists. It's like gang violence that you see in certain parts of our country, in the US. It happens everywhere. And you know what? It is happening in Mexico. And when I said that, they said, well, but there's a lot of corruption there. And I'm like, hell yeah, there's corruption. There's corruption everywhere, but Mexico's got to get a handle on the corruption, because there are issues with respect to that. But who does that impact? It doesn't impact the person coming for a 7 or 14-day vacation. It impacts the 4 people who live here, who own small shops, who might be getting extorted for money, for quote protection money and things of that nature. Hello, people. Remember the mafia? Didn't they do that with the protection rackets? Didn't we have that as a scourge not that many years ago? Can you say John Gotti? Yeah. Gambino crime family? Yeah. What do? We clamp down on it, and it's now relegated to not being in the front page. But I remember, I forget the gangster's name, but the head of one of the crime families getting gunned down. I think it's on 46th Street, Sparks Steakhouse. I worked at 43rd or 44th Street. The guy gets shot and killed, like going to dinner in the street. But again, those things have happened in every country, everywhere. And in Mexico, we're speaking to the real travelers. So back to this guy on social media. It's like, FYI, I don't own a travel agency and sell travel to Mexico. I don't, own a tour operator. I'm not sitting out there selling travel and making a bunch of money, encouraging people to go to Mexico, despite how dangerous it is. Now, dude, get a clue. You can see my profile on LinkedIn. You can see my business that I own. It's media, and I'm actually sitting here in Playa freaking del Carmen. Okay, I was out having dinner in Playa del Carmen. I went over to Cozumel and Isla Mujeres. I was in the Cancun hotel zone. So, and I brought my entire company to Cancun for a 4 or 5 day, 4 night business conference in freaking August. And I'm taking my whole family here to Isla Mujeres and Cancun in December for 2 weeks. 20 family members, extended family members. Yeah, okay, you're right. Yep, it's dangerous, and man, I'm just trying to make money off of it. Get a clue, freaking jackass. Anyway, and that's it on the social media losers for the week. But let's talk about the winners. This property I'm sitting at right now is the Live Aqua Boutique Hotel in Playa del Carmen. It is a really great, beautiful property, very, very well situated. You're right in the heart of everything. You're not on the beach, but you won't care. It's massive rooms. I mean, I'm in the room right now. I should be out, but I wanted to get this podcast done. Yeah, I'm a freaking day late. We're not going to talk about that anymore. But great big room, huge sectional with a chaise on it. You know, really well done. Very, very, very intimate property. Great service. It's all inclusive here, but you're going to want to get out and explore and dine in and around Playa del Carmen, not just eat at the hotel, although the food was excellent. But it's one of my favorite little spots here. My first time staying here, and as somebody who travels constantly, I would absolutely come back and book this property. And I think travel agents who sell it know it. Travelers who come are going to love it. And you're a couple blocks from the beach, and you're literally backing up on Fifth Avenue, which is the main avenue that's basically a walking cobblestone street or paver street, and you can go up and down. It's got restaurants, bars, and shops. So you're literally, everything's right here at your fingertips. And if you want to sort of get that amazing view and hang at the pool's on the roof along with the bar. So yeah, I highly recommend this property. And one of the cool things about this Live Aqua brand, many consumers never heard of it, a lot of agents know it, is when you show up, though in my case, they had the Murphy Travels logo, literally the logo design on the bed, along with a welcome message. You felt like you were coming home. You turn on the TV and you look, and the first thing you see is your pictures, because they went to your social media, in my case, grabbed a couple of pictures and told me welcome home and gave me a really cool travel quote because they could see I'm a travel guy. I thought that was amazing. And they did the same thing at the Live Aqua Cancun, but a little different. And it's a very different property. It's more like a resort style property on the beach, lots of rooms, more dining options, wonderful pools, all the way down by the beach. So both properties totally different. One's boutique, one's more of a resort. Both fantastic on all fronts. Really enjoyed it. And if you stay at the Live Aqua Cancun, the Asian restaurant was excellent. And it's very cool the way it's built into this garden. And it's this outdoor and indoor option that I really, really enjoyed. It was fantastic. And it was literally in that property, I felt like I was stepping into a time warp when I went into that restaurant. It's got these low hanging trees and branches. It's just really intimate. Hard to describe. You got to see it. So experience it. Live Aqua, Boutique, Playa del Carmen, Live Aqua Cancun. Recommend them both very highly. And if you get out to Cozumel, and you're a diver, right where you're going to jump the dive boats to go out diving, there's a Fiesta Americana resort, and we stayed right behind it in the Explorian, which I describe as a minimalist type of product where you feel like you're in the jungle because you're surrounded by trees and foliage, and it's very zen-like. And a lot of the excursions they do as part of it, hence the name Explorian. So again, those are the three different Fiesta Americana related products we stayed in. Posadas is the parent company. You should definitely check them out when you have an opportunity. Check them out online, look at the reviews, and then come down to Mexico and experience it for yourself, because Mexico is safe. And by talking to real travelers on the ground and getting their real perspective, I think you'll find as we release these videos that you'll be very, very comfortable coming and staying here in Mexico, and the tourist areas are fantastic and safe. Check out the State Department website. If you don't believe me, you can check out the State Department website. All right, now let's get into some of the news of the week, because there's some good news this week. Anybody want to get strip searched? How about a digital strip search? Well, they just passed a new law, the Customs and Excise Act 2018. Thanks to the Points guy for writing about this, because they've had this where they could look at your electronics for any reason, and that's pretty much any freaking country. You go into a country, you're in customs, they're going to look at your stuff if you get flagged. There, it's a little bit different, because now they will force you to open and unlock your devices or face a $3,200 fine. Now, they technically need a reason, but that reason could be, you might have coconuts in your bag, like the bag they just blew up in the Rome airport that was full of coconuts that were suspicious. So if they have a, quote, suspicion, they can make you unlock your phone, your iPad. So if you've got any of those risque pictures, things of that nature on your phone that are open and available when somebody unlocks it, you might want to figure out how to delete those quickly, or put them on a drive, or do something, because otherwise, that customs agent, he opens up your iPad, checks that out, and you don't want to give him a rise, or I shouldn't have said that. Might get a rise out of that. All right, enough of that. Damn you, Murph. You got to stop that. See, this is why I own my own company, because I just sent an email as I said that to my HR department, and I reported myself. So we'll see how that goes when I return from Mexico. All right, another thing, airlines. United flight attendant. There was a crying baby on a flight from Sydney to San Francisco airport. She told the woman that it is, quote, absolutely unacceptable that the baby cries for more than 5 minutes. Hold on a second. Absolutely unacceptable. Ma'am, have you ever had children? What's absolutely unacceptable is that statement. That makes no sense. Does she have like a special program that turns babies off after 5 minutes? If you have that, I want it. I want to know what that is. I will either buy it from you, license it, or worst case scenario, I'm going to buy this baby off switch. I guess it's a baby crying off switch, whatever. But I'm going to buy this off switch from her. I'm probably going to buy it in bulk. I'm going to carry about 100 of them with me everywhere I go, because I travel constantly. And anytime I see or hear a crying baby, in particular on a long haul flight, if the baby won't stop crying, I'm going to just give away this switch so that parent can just freaking grab it, flick it. That baby within 5 minutes stops crying, and everyone can chill out. And that's when everyone goes, oh, thank you very much. Oh, very good. Thank you, Mark. And everyone kind of gives me accolades and buys me drinks. But if I'm flying business class, I get my drinks for free. So, all right, well, they could give me stuff. They could order stuff from Sky Mall. Sky Mall, does that even exist anymore? Funny, I used to travel with a guy, and he used to always buy something from Sky Mall for his wife, kids on the flight back. Would never bother to buy anything while he was, there. And then I think the wife started traveling with him more and realized that everything she had ever received was basically a Sky Mall gift. So I don't know how that went, but I might have him on a future podcast to find out. That's from Doug Gollin. So Doug, that's a shout out. Yep. I remember that day, and that was probably back in the 1990s. So anyway, that's what's going on. She has a 5-minute rule, totally unacceptable. But here's what's funny. The woman who had the baby, who was so outraged, and God bless her, I mean, that's ridiculous. She said she's never going to fly United again. And I say to you, good luck. Good luck with that. I have said those things. You all have, if you've flown, have said those things. I will never rent from that company again. I will never stay at this brand again. I'll never fly this airline again. God damn it. I'm never doing it. Yeah. If you flew into San Francisco and you live in San Francisco, good luck if you have to travel and not fly United Airlines. Good luck if you live in Denver. Good luck if you live near Houston, and so on and so forth. There's an oligopoly, folks. The airlines control, in some cases, 80, 75%. A single airline may control 75% of all departures at a single airport. I fly out of Philadelphia all the time. You know what? I tried to come back from Mexico a day early to get back into the office, but we couldn't wrap up the filming, so it didn't matter because we had a rain delay. But I couldn't find a freaking nonstop flight. on Tuesday. So I'm leaving Wednesday. And with that said, my options were pretty freaking limited. And my number one option in terms of any real frequency was American. That was it. American to Philadelphia. And of course there's JetBlue. And I don't, maybe South, I don't even know, maybe Southwest. But I have to go outside of the normal channels to see the Southwest flights, because you can only see the Southwest flights at southwest.com. You can't see them on Google Flights. You can't see them if you're a travel agent trying to book in the global distribution systems, the GDSs. So for what it's worth, I totally appreciate the woman's anger, never flying United again, but because of the way the airlines are structured, it's almost impossible to do that. What is possible is for all you folks who have yet to take a cruise to choose cruise. Hashtag choose cruise. It's CLIA, which is the Cruise Lines International Association month to promote awareness for cruising. They're out in force. Look up hashtag choose cruise, and hopefully you'll find some cool deals, etc. And the reason they do this is a lot of people have preconceived ideas about cruising, and most of them are incorrect. I'm going to be confined. There's nothing to do. I'm going to get bored. I might get seasick. All right, full disclosure, I don't care how big the ship is, I get seasick. So if you have concerns about that, you have motion sickness, I cannot go on a boat for if it's choppy at all. Like I took the ferry from Cozumel to Playa del Carmen and back. It's like 35, 40 minutes. If it's rough and I don't take something, I'm going to be feeling lousy by the end of it in that short period of time. My go-to is Bonine. It works. And I've been on dozens and dozens of cruises, and I've never had an issue with seasickness because I'm proactive. I take it beforehand. Now, I know there are these electronic bracelets and all this other stuff, and they say they work, and I'd like to stop taking like a Bonine if indeed I can do it that way. But I am not willing to risk being miserable for 1, 2, or 3 days if it doesn't work and getting violently sick, because it will happen to me, and it's not worth it to me to take that risk. So I stick with Bonine. At some point I'm going to gamble, and it'll probably be like taking a short ferry ride. Maybe the next time I'm in Mexico, which is coming up pretty soon, it'll be another week. I'll be back here. I will know, and I can try the bracelet, let's say the electronic bracelet, and if it works, I'll let you know. But in the meantime, stick to that and understand that there are perceptions in reality. Cruising is a great vacation. People that actually do take a cruise have a 90+% satisfaction rate, high 90s, and they recommend it to other people. But just like people who don't go to Mexico will tell you it's not safe to go to Mexico, people who haven't been on a cruise will tell you all the reasons why you shouldn't go on a cruise. Hey, you have a very low threshold in terms of cost and time to see if it's for you. My suggestion is do a very short cruise that hits the Bahamas. 2, 3 nights, 4 nights max. Experiment. Book it far enough out. Go in the day before your cruise departs. That's a little travel tip here, because I've had friends who've booked the same day. They're going down in winter. There's a snowstorm in Philadelphia. Their flight gets delayed. They arrive at 6 p.m. The boat left at 5 p.m. They're effed. Don't be that person. And if you don't book your airline with the cruise line, then you're on your own to catch up to the ship, meaning you now have to book a flight last minute to, let's say, Nassau in the Bahamas. Yeah. And if it's a 3-night thing, you're probably not even going to bother, and you're going to lose all your money on your cruise. So again, I've had people repeatedly do this, and it's unfortunate. Always, especially when weather could be an issue. And it could be more than just weather. It could just be a mechanical issue with the plane. Give yourself the best advantage. If you have to go out the day your cruise leaves, it's going to suck. But go out on that 6 or 6:30 a.m. flight. Because if you get out on that 6 or 6:30 a.m. flight, you're golden. That plane is probably going to go even in bad weather. The next flights, they're going to start getting canceled. And if your 6:30 a.m. gets canceled, you've got 3 or 4 opportunities on high frequency routes to catch up and get on a flight that's still going to get you there in time. But if you're booking that 1 p.m. that gets in at 4 and your cruise leaves at 5, or the 10 a.m. that gets in at 1 that's delayed 3 hours, you're screwed, and you don't want to be that guy. All right. So that's just a little travel tip. Remember, October is Choose Cruise Month. Search hashtag Choose Cruise and see what you can find. Now, IATA came out with a study on airline preferences for travelers. In a nutshell, people want to know real-time updating, like, where's my bag? And you think this would be simple because I can tell you that my UPS package is on the truck and it's out for delivery. Why can't they tell me that my freaking bag is on the damn plane? It made it to the plane. Why can't they tell me that my bag is now in Cancun? That should be really easy, and that should be able to happen with the app and automation and RFID technology. Well, we know that that's available. And so, the airlines are catching on, and that's going to be really just broad based, and coming fast. So the study reinforced that that's what people want. But it also, one of the funny things was they said they wanted less wait times. And I'm thinking, well, no shit, basically. I've got a nickname for a relative, it's MOTO. It's an acronym for Master of the Obvious. Literally, this person will point out, oh, look, there's a dog in the house. Oh, look, the sky's blue. So I call this person Moto. They will remain anonymous because, I want Thanksgiving dinner to go smoothly. But with that said, it says less wait times. I want to wait less than 10 minutes. Well, you, me, and everybody else. So that's kind of obvious. But there's more. You can dig into that study. It's the IATA study on airline preferences. See how you match up with what travelers are saying that they want. And, I'm sure you're going to agree with most of the stuff on there because some of it's super obvious. And it's just, for normal customer service, you would think it would be a given. But unfortunately, in the case of airlines, it's like the airline CEOs doing the interview in the coach seats, for 15 minutes versus you and me having to fly 16 hours from JFK to Shanghai. Yeah, it's a little different, my man. Little freaking different. But anyway, you're getting better. Let's keep at it. We want happy travelers in flight, not just happy travelers when they arrive and get through customs. All right. Next up, this is not surprising. I've written about this on TravelPulse.com, but the Journal of Family Medicine and Primary Care has done a study, and they noted that there has been a high increase in selfie-related deaths. Since 2011 through November of 17, 259 people have died taking selfies. So think about that. 259 people on this planet are now dead in a 6-year window because they wanted to get that really cool shot that would get a lot of likes. Yeah. I mean, they really would have gone viral if they actually videotaped themselves as they fell off the cliff, and then their friends recovered the camera and the phone and uploaded it to YouTube. That would have gone viral. Unfortunately, they didn't go viral. They died, and they died because of stupidity. And they wanted to do something that was highly risky. They should never have done. But again, you can't get it back. You get one life, and you can live many lives. You only die once. And unfortunately, this is either Darwinism in some cases, or I think it's pretty much Darwinism. Interesting enough, the most common demo for this are men in their 20s, and that reminds me of a funny. It is kind of funny. It reminds me of a very, very funny individual, not cartoon, but picture of a guy jumping off the roof of a house with a broomstick between his legs, like he's flying on a broomstick, and he's jumping off the house to land in the pool. And he's got this stupid, what we call a shit-eating grin on his face. And the caption says, "Why women live longer than men." How freaking true is that? How freaking true is that? For us men who have made it through our 20s without dying, taking selfies or doing anything else that's completely stupid, which I've done plenty of, that means we look back and go, thank God that didn't kill me, because we do some really stupid stuff. So there is a reason women live longer than men. This is one of them. And unfortunately, people need to understand that when they see that perfect shot that somebody took, a lot of times it's staged. Or better yet, you see these stuntmen doing these crazy things. They have mapped this thing out 8 ways to Sunday. They've got physicists figuring out how, the physics of that stunt and whatnot. You've got climbers that will climb in Yosemite with no safety ropes. However, they have climbed that face 50 freaking times with safety harnesses and mapped the safest best route and know it like a map in their mind. So that's very different than the guy just going, hey, I'm just going to start climbing. And unfortunately, it's like rookies or non-professionals trying to be professional and dying as a result. Don't be an idiot. And selfies, there's no reason you should die to capture a great selfie. It's just so dumb. But anyway, that's what people do, and it's unfortunate. All right. So to wrap up, I'm going to give you a little insight into hotel pricing and how it works. So, for instance, if you're in Las Vegas and you're going to Las Vegas, and all of a sudden you're looking at rates and you see the rates seem like way out of control, like $950 a night for a hotel that normally sells for $200, $300, $400 a night. You would say, what is going on? I'll tell you what's going on. There's a big citywide convention, let's say the Consumer Electronics Show, or any number of smaller conventions. And the thing about destinations like Vegas and other, products that are out there, you will see these crazy, you look at a date that you think you want to go and you'll say, man, it's so crazy expensive. And then if you look at the tail end of it, all of a sudden the rates come way down the next week. They use what's called yield management at hotels. Airlines have been doing it for years. And if they're at 50% occupancy, they're dropping those rates to stimulate demand. And as the occupancy level increases for those dates, the prices keep ticking up. It's all done with algorithms. It's all automated for the most part with most hotels these days. And they're maxing and trying to squeeze every last dollar out to get to that optimal level of rate and occupancy. That's what they do. Now, the way to get around it is you look and you use the word, number one, flexible. I want to be flexible. And number two, if you get access to when these citywide conventions are going to happen, let's say in Vegas, like I'm sure you could Google schedule of 2019 conventions in Las Vegas. Look at the dates following the major conventions when the city's going to sell out, or for the most part sell out. That's when rates are going to be through the freaking roof, and come in the day after, or the day everybody leaves. If everybody leaves on a Sunday or a Monday, look at the rates for those dates. They are going to be at the bottom of the barrel in terms of yield. You are going to get an unbelievable deal if you're flying in on the last day when people are departing from the Consumer Electronics Show in Vegas. As long as there's not a bunch of other conventions backed up on it, rates are going to drop dramatically. They're going to stimulate that demand. You're going to book a great vacation at a great price, and you're going to get it because you were just flexible. And that really, at the end of the day, is the key word. And you need to understand that when you're looking at airline pricing and hotel pricing in particular, those two, they're using these sophisticated revenue management tools, or what I said, yield management, to stimulate demand and get the best deal for them to fill out and sell out their hotel or every last airline seat that they possibly can. And in doing so, they're stimulating demand, but then as that demand picks up, they're raising those prices. It's a little bit different than a lot of other products where they might, get you cheaper pricing as you get closer in, last minute kind of deals. Typically in travel, it doesn't work that way. The closer in your booking, in particular on airlines, for the most part, you're going to pay the most. And why is that? Well, they know that if I have to book a trip from Philly to Chicago and I'm booking on Monday for travel on Tuesday, I'm probably a business traveler. And I'm coming back on Thursday. Oh, I'm definitely a business traveler. They stick it to you. They really stick it to you. And that's just unfortunate for us business travelers that don't have a lot of flexibility. On the other hand, if you're a leisure traveler and you want to go to Chicago, just look at Google Flights, look at the different prices, make sure you put in nonstop as one of your preferences and look at it. Better yet, call a travel agent, let them do it for you. But if you're a control freak and you want to see it yourself, Google Flights is a great way to look at city pairs, Chicago, Philly, or Chicago, Houston, or Chicago, Cancun, or whatever. And you'll see how the pricing is going to ebb and flow over the period of the month. But again, make sure you put in your preferences, like up to one stop, nonstop only. But also understand if you do one stop, you could be a one stop in Miami from Chicago to Cancun, and it could be 18 and a half hours to get there. I've had friends do that as well. They didn't realize, like, holy shit, there's a 15-hour layover in Miami. Nobody wants to book that, but I've had friends who've done that because they didn't use a travel agent. They were too smart and needed to do it themselves. So again, put in the parameters if you can do it yourself, or better yet, call a travel agent, because if they stick it to you and they do a stupid booking, they're on the hook, not you, and they have to make it right. So that's it for the Travel Pulse podcast this week. I hope you have a great week. I hope to get back to you on Tuesday next week, but I can already assure you that that's probably not going to happen. And I'll probably be late again next week. So there's my full disclosure. Until next time, great trip to Mexico, and we'll talk soon.